Hi guys, something truly bizarre took place on GB News on Thursday. The host of a show interviewed two Muslims, but not outside an asylum centre or at a pro-Palestinian march. No, in a warm, comfortable studio. You see, an organisation called the Centre for Media Monitoring did an investigation into Islamophobia in the media and discovered that about 50% of all news stories and opinion pieces on both Muslims and Islam in general took place on GB News, more than any other channel. GB News, of course, hit back and said that the report was inaccurate and an attempt to silence free speech. Then we had this.
I'll start with yourself then. So were you were in the car and you realised the boot had closed?
Yeah.
Just talk me through how that happened.
We was all knackered, as I'm sure you can imagine. Been a very long day. And my dad was asleep in the front and I don't know how I was awake. I was sat in the back. My husband was inside the petrol kiosk speaking to the attendant, trying to figure out this whole petrol scenario going on. I don't know what that was happening in there. And I thought I heard my dad say, "Look, behind me." But he was asleep, so he obviously didn't say anything. I turned around and I've seen the boot open. Now, this is a new car and my husband treats the car like it's his baby, so he's probably going to be on the floor looking at these alloys or something. It's happened before. But just out of curiosity, I'm just continuously looking at the back. And then I see the boot go down, but it's a bit windy, so maybe it was just the wind. But I continuously keep looking because I'm hearing like crisp packets rustling in the back. And as I'm watching, I see the boot close, but there's no one on the outside. And I'm hearing rustling from the inside. Now, that's right behind me. And I'm just there like, I just straight away put two and two together. And I was like, there's someone in the boot. Like, what do I do?
Well, that's terrifying. So then what happened? So then did you re-emerge on the scene?
So once I was inside the petrol station, gone back to the petrol station guy, told him that you've put the wrong petrol on the tab. She's called me saying that someone's in a boot. So I've told her to grab the steering lock, which is built like a baseball bat, just to protect us because I've heard they've got knives and weapons, whatnot. So we've got to protect ourselves. And he's calling me back like in a way delaying me, like he's part of it in a way. Like he can't, he keeps pointing at his ear saying, he can't hear me. Come back here and tell me closer.
So almost like you think that the person who was working at the petrol station was possibly in on this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was French. So I was like, I'll come back to you. I've gone outside. I've told her to hand over the steering lock to me. I've opened up the boot, and as soon as I've opened this boot up, I've seen him laying in there. Almost, you can't see him. He's covered himself with his jacket. So he's come out and he's like, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden, I've looked around me as at least 30 to 40 other immigrants surrounded us.
30 or 40 of them?
And if they've seen that I've got a steering lock in my hands, I've always told them to go away. I'm going to try to call the police. I've told her to call the police. They threaten us. They're going to call us. The police won't do anything. Laughing at us.
They know that the police will do nothing.
I mean, were there any police around?
This is the worst thing. So we was getting threats. They were literally saying, we'll kill you. Now, obviously, the three of us, realistically, there's only one of us. So I'm not going to do anything. My dad's not going to do anything. So we're surrounded by them. You hear they've all got machetes, knives. You don't know. Like, you don't. I called the police several times and they were just saying, first they said they don't speak English. I need to call the English line. Call the English line. No, you need to call the emergency police. Call the emergency. They don't speak English. So then I was terrified. I called 999. I'm here. I need to get in contact with the British. What do I do? Called 999. Got connected to the French again. So I couldn't do anything.
Oh, meanwhile, all of this is erupting around.
No, exactly. And we still need to fill up. So literally, my husband.
Okay. If you're going to find actors, if you're going to use actors, at least use decent ones. Does anyone actually believe this happened? None of this has been recorded. Isn't it strange? None of this makes sense. So she says that she was in the car, then she heard somebody say, behind you, but it wasn't her dad because he was asleep. But somebody said behind you. She looked behind her and the boot was open and then it was closing. And then the guy was calling the husband back when he was like, why didn't she get out of the car? If you think there's someone in your boot, the first thing you do is you get out. I'm trying to make sense of this, but it's nonsensical. Is this related to accusations of Islamophobia against GB News. I don't know. It's a massive coincidence. Perhaps it's just a massive coincidence that GB News was accused of Islamophobia, and the very next day they have two Muslims on to talk about a situation that they were involved in France, where migrants were trying to get into their car. One of them apologized, said, sorry, and then they were surrounded by a gang. And the gang said, we're going to kill you. They tried to call the police, but the police wouldn't respond. Or the police said, we don't speak English. Did they answer in English? Oh my goodness. None of this makes sense. Maybe it's not meant to make sense. If it makes sense to anyone in the comments, please let me know. Because, look, instead of actually treating people with respect, GB News is, I believe, an off-wing, like a media wing of Reform UK. And they have to drum up as much fear and anger over immigrants and asylum seekers and, of course, Muslims as much as possible to convince people to come out and vote for Reform UK. They're constantly talking about how the Muslim population is taking over, or how the most popular name in Britain is Mohammed, and this is a problem, and it's showing the country is sinking into the sea and stuff like that. So this is the sort of rhetoric they engage in. It seems that maybe somebody at the top says we need to calm it down a bit, or we need to bring someone on, for a PR stunt, try and improve our image somewhat. But this is the best they could come up with? Really? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.